Okay, we should be live. Hold up. Let's wait for everything to sync up. Just 1 second, everybody. Come on, work with me. There we go. Okay, great. Yes, outstanding. Okay, so good evening, everybody. I know this is not our scheduled time. However, in the last video in the comments, I promised that I would show you, I would follow up on something that I said way back when in class about how to do citations and how to get Word to do it for you. And I realized that I actually never followed up on that. So check your email when you get a chance. Yes, as soon as this broadcast is done, I will take a look at that. Thank you for bringing that up. I figured I would just jump right into it and show you guys how to do citations the easy way, how to do citations using Microsoft Word. To my knowledge, you need additional software to do this with Pages. And for Google Docs, I honestly have no clue, but there are probably online tools that will do the same thing for you. I think fundamentally, what I would say is this is not an English class, and I'm not grading you on the quality of your citations. So long as like an attempt is made to do citations, I'll take that as like a sign of goodwill. However, let me show you the easy way to do them if you're doing the normal process of getting your citations done. And this is going to be true for a lot of your classes, not just for mine. So let me share screen on the blank Word document. Here we go. Okay, so here is your traditional empty wall of text. I will say that the normal join code is active. So if you have a question, I'm going to minimize YouTube. I'm just going to assume that it's running because it says live here. So if you have a question, I would ask that you use the code to jump in to the meeting and just ask it to me because I can't watch everything at once. So welcome to Microsoft Word. I'm sure you're familiar with this interface. Let's say you want to do a citation. All right, so let's say you're typing. This is a paper about Eichmann in Jerusalem. Okay. When you want to go to cite, what you would do is you would see in the top ribbon here, you would click references. And there's a whole bunch of options here, most of which are not applicable to you unless you're writing a book. So like table of contents, you don't need that. Your main players are this category here, footnote, endnote, and these ones here. So what's the difference between a footnote, an endnote, works cited, and a bibliography? A footnote goes at the end of your document, at the end of your page. Citation, if we were to do something like Chicago style footnotes, instead of having all of my citations in a works cited or in a bibliography, what you would do is you would essentially disperse your citations inside your paper. So instead of being at the end of your document, your citations would be on the page in which they are present, right? This is, for the record, the method that I have done for most of my academic career. Number one, because it's easier. Number two, because it's easier for the person reading it, so that if I have to check your citation, I don't have to scroll all the way to the bottom and find your citation, scroll all the way back and refine my spot. This is a lot easier because like, okay, here's your citation, here's your citation. Okay, good, all right? What you'll see happen when you click insert footnote is that at the end of the quote, there's a little bitty one right here and a corresponding footnote at the end. And the more you type, all right, let's say, random typing, and I insert another footnote, you'll see here, actually, there we go. You'll see here a second footnote has emerged. And this is where you would put your citations. You can make them from scratch here. I would not recommend it unless you are really comfortable with making your citations. There are others that will do them for you. You need a little secret of academia. Your professors or your grad students or whoever, they're doing the same thing. They're capable of doing them from memory, from scratch. But honestly, most people don't do it this way. To me, this is not a form of plagiarism because, again, this is not an English class. You're not being graded on the quality of your citations. You're being graded on the content of your work. So long as the citation is there and it's correct, I'm happy. All right. So, yada, 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 yada. This is really, really good for a 5-page paper because it essentially gives you an incentive to cite. Because if you'll notice, what these footnotes are doing is they're chewing up space on the page from the bottom up. And so what ends up happening here is the more footnotes you use, the less you physically have to write to meet your page quotas, which is a neat little trick that I learned early on in my college career. Because this means that it makes your professors happy too because you're engaging in the material more. It's like I'm using more citations and more of the material to show that I understand the material, even if it ends up means that I'm typing less. This is really good standard college papers, which I'm sure you've written several by this point. What's the difference between a footnote and an endnote? The second option here. Well, I mean, you can sort of logic it out. If a footnote goes at the foot of your page, right? Let's type another random sentence, and I click endnote. What you'll see is that this goes at the end of the document. And as I type, yada, yada, require endnotes instead of footnotes. I personally have had a professor that's required it's not the biggest change in the world. The only real difference is that endnotes sort of just tack on to the end of your document, wherever that end of your document is, but it's not an official bibliography. It's not like an official sort of works cited page. It's just the exact same format of footnote. Now, what about work? Let's get rid of all of these footnotes. Oh yeah, I got to delete them one by one. That's not annoying at all. All right, so let me delete, and here delete. Oh no, here. Okay. All right, so let's say this is you're typing, yada yada yada. I'm sure most of you are used to something that looks and then you just sort of list them out one by one. This is handy, and this is like good for for a one-off. The problem is that with a paper that is 10 pages or longer, like for example my final, you're going to have a lot of citations, or at least that. Ideally, you will have a lot of citations because let's say you're referencing at least, let's say 2 readings per question. If your answer, well, then that's 10 citations, right? And that adds up. Actually, no. Yeah, sorry. Math. I teach history, not math. So, don't hold that against me. But what could you do if you have like a longer list of citations, which means that this is more unwieldy? Well, first thing we need to do is distinguish between works cited and a bibliography. And the difference is that in a works cited, what you're doing is you're directly listing things that you are referencing or quoting in your paper directly, right? So let's say you're writing a paper on Eichmann in Jerusalem or Darkness at Noon, and you're quoting from Darkness at Noon. These things would go in your works cited because you are citing these works. It's in the name. A bibliography is a lot larger because a bibliography includes everything you've cited and everything you've read in preparation for a paper. So while it's not applicable necessarily for this class, I have this video prepped. I'm probably going to use this for other classes. So if you're in a higher level course with me, listen up. A bibliography is going to reference everything that you have read or researched in preparation for this paper. So if you're writing a research paper in a history 200 level or 300 level or a poli-sci 200 level or 300 level, and so in the process of research, you will inevitably find readings that you have read or documents that you've read that you've found interesting, but for whatever reason are not using in your paper. A bibliography is a really good way to get credit for that work, even though you're not necessarily using it, because you're showing whoever's reading it, hey, look at all the good stuff that I read, even though you're not using all of that. All right, so that's the difference. If you wanted to like write a Venn diagram, works cited as a small circle, and then bibliography is the big circle around it, right? Bibliographies contain works cited, or rather, all works cited are bibliographies, not all works cited are bibliographies. Does that make sense? So what's the easy way to do this with Microsoft Word? If you go here to the citation section, you'll notice a whole bunch of things. First off, you'll notice the style of citation that you can use. I guess the dirty little secret, the second dirty little secret, is that Microsoft Word has had the ability to do your citations for you since you were in elementary school, right? It has all sorts of different options. Most of these are not relevant to us. So like ISO and IEEE, these are more for engineering and science papers. The big ones in social sciences and academia are APA, Chicago, MLA, and Turabian. I personally have never used Turabian, and so we're not going to use it. Most of you will be familiar with MLA or Chicago. And the reason for that is MLA is what is used in literature classes. And so it stands to reason that most of you are familiar with MLA simply because you learn about citations in an English class. And so your English professor, who is the background in language or literature, is going to be more familiar with the citation style used in language and literature. That makes sense, right? But that's not true across every single discipline. And for history and for political science, these are social sciences, we tend to use Chicago or APA. And I personally find APA needlessly complicated. If you're curious, you can go look into it. I personally prefer Chicago. Chicago is just souped up MLA. It's just MLA with around. It's not difficult. All right. So let's say we're going to use Chicago. All right. So that's our citation style. Our next step would be to do insert citation. And what we have here is essentially what you would have on any sort of online tool. You have to pick the sort of source that it is. All right. So let me give you an example. Let me pick up a book from my shelf here. Yes, let's pick up a reading that you will all have allegedly read for tomorrow, which is a chapter from this, The Making of the President, 1968, talking about Bobby Kennedy, right? So at the start of each book, of each of the book that you will get out of the library, that you read and going forward, you'll see that there is a copyright page right at the beginning, right? Like, usually there is like, you open the book, you flip forward, there's a title page, and then almost immediately afterwards, there is a copyright page. And the copyright page has all of the information you need to include here for a book. All right, so let's say we're going to use this. So what we would do is we would pick out the author. The author is Theodore H. White. The title is The Making of the President, 1968. City of publication, let me pull that up. City of publication is New York, NY. New York, oh, come on. I can type New York, comma, NY. Publisher is HarperCollins, and the year is 2010. 2010, okay? So we have here our book. You press OK, and it appears in your citation list. So if you click Citations next to Insert Citation, what you'll have here is just a whole ranked list of all of the citations that you're making, all right? On here, but we or for another class, you'll be working with documents that require several citations. Because you can just pick out what you need, double click, and it appears in the text, right, for your in-text citation. When you're done, when you're finished, you know, you do the insert page break. Let's go back here, insert page break. Let's put this second page, bibliography. What this bibliography is going to do, it's going to develop a bibliography in bibliography and APA. And if I want to pick MLA, bibliography, oh, it just fixes it automatically for you. So to comparison in MLA, here it is in Chicago. It's literally just moving some italics around. It's really, really simple. So yeah, it shouldn't be that difficult for you. But what I want to show you is what this looks like when you have several citations. So I'm going to stop this share for a sec, and I'm going to open up a new document. One sec. I'm going to share screen, and I'm going to open up the section, but I also have the bibliography section. Oh, no, this is done by, all right, this is done by Word. So this is what I mean. This is a bibliography that was made by Word. Citations. And this is, of course not. That page final. And it is good, especially for those of you looking to go on to a four-year college or those of you going to grad school, to know how to do this, because this will save you time. Because after you've done your just click for you. And in this case, I remember to do this, I had to split it up by section, right? But look, it split it up by section, and here's all of it done in Chicago style citations, done correctly. And if I wanted to, I'm hoping not to do lasting damage here, but let's say I wanted to delete this. Chances are you will get it, especially at a four-year college, you will get it for your computers, but you'll have so in citation style, in the citations at the bottom. Now this is Word for Mac. It is like remarkably similar for Word for Windows. So like, don't freak out, but you know it's similar. When you click citations and you go to the bottom, you could open something called Citation Source Manager. What is this? Well, let's say I want to take all of these sources, because these are good sources, and I can just copy them into my master list. And what my master list is common throughout my Word installation, right? So if I close this out and I want to make citations, and I see, oh, my citation manager is blank because there are no citations here. Okay, if I go to my citation, I keep it is to do this, and I don't blame them. That is part of their job. But what I am telling you is that if you're a smart person, you're going to do it this way. Now, let's talk about online citation managers, because they do exist. The problem is that, especially tools like EasyBib and even the one I recommend, Use Citation Machine, oftentimes they don't get things right. Oftentimes they get things wrong because this is not these online tools, right? So don't take them necessarily at face value. Sometimes you're going to have to fix them, and especially for classes with like professors that tend to be a little more anal about this stuff, it's good that you learn how to do this way, because Word will never get it wrong. What if I'm using Google Doc, which is about 90% of you? Tools in this. I know there's a program called EndNote, which 99.9% of you are never going to use, but there's more advanced way to do this. I think the easiest thing for you guys to do is to look for an online tool that generates bibliographies. Like, I am sure that there's a tool like go. Method. That's definitely an option, and I recommend it, especially if you. The only problem with footnotes method is that you have to insert those manually. Word is advanced, but it's not advanced enough, unfortunately, to make your bibliography match your footnotes. Not yet, anyway. One day in the future, I hope. That would be like on my wish list. Not so much. So, not ideal. What I will say is, I hope this was useful. I hope this was helpful. I'm going to keep this video up on my channel. If you're watching this in a future class and you don't quite know what brought this on, this is just an easy primer on how to do citations. the easy way. So I hope that helps. Let me stop the screen share. Tomorrow, where we'll be talking about Vietnam, and we'll be talking about Bobby Kennedy. And for those of you that and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.